Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States and to the republic for which it stands. Greet your neighbor.
Hello.
Today's invocation will be given by John Scott.
It's been commented in the past that sometimes my invocations are a bit long and wordy. I do write them and I reference things. This particular one has some references to the Rotary Club in Rolando Beach, California. I try not to sound like the classification talk for a Presbyterian minister, but to that I say, please bow your heads. Creator and sustainer, let us be joyful in our thanks for the meal we share today, for the hands that have prepared it, and for the nourishment and strength that it gives us for the good work yet to be done. We also give thanks today for the opportunity to be a Rotarian. Rotarians dig wells from which we will never drink, vaccinate children we will never meet, restore eyesight for those we will never see, build housing we will never live in, educate children we may never know, plant trees we will never be able to sit under, and feed hungry people regardless of race or politics. We understand that real joy can only be found by helping others, and for those and other opportunities we give our thanks. Like the organization we welcome today as part of our program, Wooster Rotary wholeheartedly supports any effort that improves the welfare and potential of children, whether it be adoption services, protection against the abuse or neglect of children, or the support of foster parenting. These and the other community needs they provide fall squarely within the scope of the Rotary four-way test. These are all noble efforts and things which our future generations can build upon with confidence, knowing we supported them steadfastly today. Let us as Rotarians continue to strive to make this a better world. Amen.
Well, welcome to all of you. As usual, it's just great to see all of you today in this beautiful day outside. The sun's in your eyes, just feel free to move off. It does get pretty bright in certain places. I'd just like to give a shout out to our cooks. I just think they do just a marvelous job. They're trying to provide food so that no matter what your wishes are, there's something for you. I just love it. I don't know if you guys know it, but we're the only Rotary Club in Ohio that has its own cooks, which I think is pretty outstanding. Now, Secretary Lynn and the Secretary report.
Thank you, President Greg. We will start from the podium. Andy Jones will introduce his guest.
Thank you, Lynn. In addition to our speaker, Deanna, my wife is here, Michelle Jones. Michelle is the owner and president of Creative Aid, which is a B2B marketing company.
Welcome to the audience, Ron Olmsted.
Okay, my guest today is Brian Riley of our planning department.
And Tony Biggio.
My guest is Dr. Waltering. I am trying to get you for better today, and I'm going to have invited him to week about it.
Well, it's great to welcome guests and new members, and it's also good to thank members who recently left. And I just want to give you a list of a few members who left. So if you see them in the community, you can thank them for their service. We really appreciate the time they spent with us. Uday Vaidya, he and his wife are going to spend most of their time out of the country, so he's left. Connie Higgins will be serving a Salvation Army in a new community soon. Jenny Myers, I think, had some job changes. Jan Hamels had some family commitments. Sue Gorman is retiring from Goodwill, and most especially Eric Richmond. When you see Eric, he served here 33 years and he's moving to Illinois to be with his family. So thank you to these members. So appreciate your help with that. We have one announcement. Angel Lifty will be announcing about our salvation bell ringing, and we always love to do that. That's a volunteer event that many of us enjoy.
Hello, everyone. So yes, it is that time of year again for the bell ringing, and there's just something a little bit new we're doing this year. Greg and I spoke, and we would like for the new members within the last year to sign up to ring the bell. We are doing 6 total dates this year. And a change is we added 1 date to Pine Tree Barn. So Pine Tree is they bring in the largest amount of money for Salvation Army just because it's a big tourist attraction. So I just thought it would be good for Wooster Rotary to represent out there one day. And then we are doing 5 days. They're all Fridays at Bueller's Milltown. So it will be inside. And then we just want to encourage you to wear Wooster Rotary attire as well. So if you do not have any Wooster Rotary attire and would like some, please connect with Greg. Just to give a few stats, due to Major Higgins and their family having to leave, I did not get 2022 or 21 stats. But the total funds collected with Salvation Army each year is around $90,000. So in 2021, $86,581. Bueller's Milltown alone brings in $28,724. And this was actually during COVID, these numbers. So this number actually is a lot higher than what this is. In the Wooster Rotary collections, just from those 4 days that we did that year of COVID, we brought in $3,000 just for those 4 Fridays. So it is really important that we don't leave the kettles empty. I believe I have around 36 slots to fill. It'll be 2-hour increments, the shifts. We do have a link, which I believe it's going to be sent in the email to you guys, but I do have the sign up with me today. I'll try to keep that updated. If you guys are not don't want to do it online, feel free to reach out to me here and I'll get you guys signed up. Thank you.
Thanks, Andrew. We appreciate it. I thought it was important, and Lynn did too, that we tell you who's departed so you can wish them well. And to emphasize again for you, it's important that we replace the members that leave. And it takes about 15 new ones a year just to keep our membership at around 65. So it's important, and I think you guys all should know that. This time, I'd like Kelly Garrett to come up to do her classification talk.
Thank you. It's really nice to see some familiar faces. Makes me feel comfortable being up here. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Kelly Gerhart. I'm the general manager at WQKT WKVX here in Worcester. We just celebrated our 75th anniversary. And I'm proud to say that I'm the first female GM at the radio station in 75 years. So a little bit about me. Hope you don't hold this against me, but I am originally from Southwestern PA. I currently live in Ashland, Ohio with my husband, Randy. And my career before coming to the radio station has been in newspaper advertising, and I have worked in Worcester for the past 8 years. When I say don't hold it against me, I mean because I am from Southwestern PA and I am a Pittsburgh girl, Steelers, Penguins, Pirates. However, when I'm at the station, I'm all about the Cleveland teams because that's where our revenue comes from. So go Guardians. we'll talk about the Browns another time. I thought that the Browns and the Steelers were in a race to get that first round draft pick next year, but I guess they don't have a pick for what, 3 years? So who knows what they're, I don't know. I just thought, who doesn't like a PowerPoint? And this will help me keep on track of what I want to talk about. So a little bit of my history. I graduated from Seton Hill University in Pennsylvania with a degree, a BA in communications. I interned there at the local newspaper, and that's what got my career started in advertising, newspaper advertising. I started my first job in Greensburg, Pennsylvania at the Tribune Review. Is there anyone from that area? No, usually somebody's like, oh yeah, I know somebody there, or I'm familiar with that, but. So during that time, I met my husband, Randy, while he was getting his master's and PhD from the University of Pittsburgh. So yes, we are Pitt fans as well. We got married, and then he got a teaching job at Southern Illinois University in Carbondale. So we moved 12 hours away from home, friends, family, everything to start a new life in Carbondale. I then took a job at the local newspaper, again in advertising sales. And that's where I actually joined my first service club, which was the Lions. And let me just say that was a terrific group of guys, mostly guys. I think there was only 5 women in the club, but they really respected us women, and they were just a lot of fun. And the community involvement that they had was tremendous, and it really got me thinking about how service could be important to me in my future. While we were in Illinois, we had our son David, and we thought, oh we're 12 hours from home. He's not going to grow up with his family. His grandparents are cousins. So we decided to move closer to home, and that's what brought us to Ashland. We moved to Ashland in August of 2003, and my daughter Emma was born in September. So we were here for a month, and she was born on a blow-up mattress, because when we moved here, the moving truck did not make it at the same time. So we had about a week before everything was here. But yeah, so we ended up in Ashland, and that's where we've been ever since. So I started working for a small newspaper group in New London when we moved to Ashland. The Firelands Farmer, the Shelby Daily Globe, Bullard Times Junction was all part of that group. And it was there that I actually joined the Rotary Club and the Community Club. Again, 2 organizations doing great work in the community, and I was glad to be a part of that. But after 5 years, I decided I wanted to get back to a bigger newspaper. So I went to work for the Mansfield News Journal. I was there 8 years. And during that time, I joined a service club called Altrusa. Again, a great group of women doing really good work in the community. Keeping that service commitment alive was important to me. But the uncertainty of working for the Gannett Corporation led me to become the ad director at the Wooster Daily Record. So some of you might remember me or know me from there. I was there 5 years before coming to the radio station. And then the Dix family sold the newspapers, the Gatehouse. And that led me to my current position as a GM at the radio station, because they sold the newspapers, but they kept the radio station. And after a year, when their non-compete was over, they asked if I would come work for them. And I said yes. So I've been there 3.5 years, and then that's where I joined Quota, thanks to Becky Foster. Again, continuing that service work. So right now, my son is a senior in college, my daughter is a freshman. So my husband and I are now empty nesters and starting our next chapter. Any other empty nesters in the room? Yeah. You know where I'm saying. Just a little bit about my family. Somebody told me that pictures might be fun to look at. So this is a picture of me and my husband, Randy. We've been married for 24 years. And then my son, David, and my husband, Randy. My son, David, goes to Westminster College in Pennsylvania, where he plays baseball. So sports has always been important in our lives. He was a football player, basketball player in junior high and some of high school, but baseball has always been his passion. And our passion is watching him play. And then my daughter, Emma, is a freshman at Wittenberg University. She played volleyball in high school and has continued her choir activities at Wittenberg. A little bit about my interest. You'll see the picture of us as a singular family. Yes, we do have the terrible towel. My husband and I have jerseys with our names on them because we know that we're not leaving the team, unlike some of the others. Sports is important to us. One year we dressed up as G-Force 4. That was our team name as baseball players for Halloween. So sports is a big part of our lives. And then my husband and I, again, looking forward to that next chapter. We go to a lot of sporting events and concerts, and we're big Rolling Stones fans, and actually went to Heinz Field last year to watch them. So I wanted to end with a quote from Tony Dorsett. To succeed, you need to find something to hold on to. And in my case, that's my family. It's something to motivate you. In my case, it's my job. And something to inspire you. In my case, it's the work that we do with the community, both in service and with what I do at the radio station, helping businesses grow their advertising, their marketing and their business. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Kelly. Very, very well done. It's always nice to know our new members, and we're gonna have these until we get caught up. Well, welcome to our guests today, Azumi and Suji, to Walt. We go way back, Walt. And Michelle and Brian, we hope you enjoy today's program. And that our speaker will be introduced by Andy Jones.
Well, thank you, Greg. It's my pleasure to introduce our speaker today, Deanna Nichols-Sticka. She is the Executive Director of the Wayne County Children's Services Board. Wayne County Children's Services, in partnership with the community, exists to protect abused and neglected children and to strengthen, preserve, and empower families. Deanna has worked in the government and for not-for-profit sectors throughout her 25-plus-year social service career. Her areas of passion are her faith, her family, and her community. Her professional focus lies in child abuse, domestic violence, nonprofit fundraising, and leadership development. She believes in self-reflection and continued learning are hallmarks of development. Deanna and her husband, John, live just outside of Creston, Ohio. They are both Kansas natives and big Kansas State fans. Kansas State played TCU pretty tough. They did a good job, almost made it. And they have 3 adult sons, Tavis, Gavin, and McCoy. Fun fact about Deanna, she loves anything with chocolate. So if you would, please join me in welcoming Deanna Nichols-Sticka.
Good afternoon. It is great to be here. I have gotten to see so many friendly faces as I have been here today so far. So like Kelly, this is a very friendly that helps me be a little bit more relaxed and just really an opportunity for me to share some information about Wayne County Children's Services. As Andy and I were talking, he had asked, when was the last time you've been to Rotary? And in preparation for today, it has been since 2018. So I am thrilled to be back with you today just to share some information, updates about who we are, what we do, and kind of the state of affairs that Wayne County Children's Services is currently in. So with that, Andy shared in my introduction our mission. And I want to just focus on that for a moment. It is pivotal that we do not succeed in our job without the partnership of our local community. It is imperative that we have that partnership together to help and support families to be successful. One thing that I have found in my role since I've been executive director at Children's Services is Wayne County by far has an incredible partnership in the world of child welfare that many of my counterparts across the state do not have. I am so grateful for that. Our community continues to be front line in helping support children and families in our community, which ultimately helps us do our job. So I want to just say and start off with my thanks. Rotary, in your service to the community, you are making a difference in our children's lives and our families' lives. So thank you for that. I want to first give you a little bit of quick overview about what we do. You know, Wayne County Children's Services, we are the government branch of child welfare in the state of Ohio. Our county commissioners, of which we have some today with us, they are tasked. Their job is to designate who is going to take care of child welfare in the county. And so they have designated our organization to do that. Along with that designation, we have a board of directors. that is appointed by our local county commissioners. People, community members from across Wayne County apply when we have openings on our board of directors, which is 7 people. They apply to the county commissioners, and then they are appointed by the county commissioners in service to our organization. So they are our governing board to help set policy and ensure that we have all of the tools that we need to be successful. But our job, our fundamental job, is to provide those services to abused, neglected, and dependent children in Wayne County. And how do we do that? It is very structured by the state of Ohio, as well as our federal government, in how we roll out those services. You'll see first we have our social services department. I've listed it first because that's kind of our front door to the community. When we have a community member or family member that is concerned about their family, we typically get a phone call. That phone call comes into our intake department, our intake unit. And per screening guidelines, we will determine with the information we receive, we will compare that to our screening guidelines of whether we can offer services to that family or not on an emergency basis or non-emergency basis. I share this information because it is not, it is a very prescribed process, but we have many laws that we have to follow to respect the family unit as well as to respect the work that we do. So it is important that we are very consistent with our screening process when we are working with families. We have as our top mandated reporters to our agency come to us from the school districts across Wayne County. How many of you are tied to a school district? Thank you. You are our eyes and ears that spend the majority of time with kiddos in our community. Our kiddos spend the largest part of their time during the school year in that school environment. So school personnel can quickly pick up on if there is a concern with a child, and we rely on their expertise to share those concerns with us. So the intake department is like our front door. If we open a case and investigate it, and then determine that we need to provide ongoing services with the family, that case will be served by our ongoing department. And then we also have other services within the agency, other departments, our clinical department, which that holds our foster homes. We have 30 licensed foster homes in Wayne County, throughout Wayne County, that we utilize to care for children when they can no longer stay in their own home. We also have an adoption unit when kiddos, unfortunately, are not able to reunify with their family. We do become the custody holder of those children through the court system. And then it's our job to find their permanent, forever homes. Right now in the agency, we have 31 children that are in our agency's permanent custody that we are actively looking for permanent homes for those children. And then under our clinical department, we also offer on-site visitation in between caregivers and children, that they come to our building, and we have different rooms in our building that are family-like settings. When there is supervised visitation that needs to take place, that we house that, like I said, within our building. We are located at the Kinney building right next to the soccer fields. If you ever have walked by and seen our playground on the back side of our building, we utilize that playground during our visitation time between our families. And also, of course, the whole nice green space around our building, which is really wonderful. And then, of course, like any business, we have our foundational supports for our staff, which is our human resources and our fiscal department. Those round out our entire look of our organization. I threw this up because I'm always, as I go out into the community, people are surprised that we do have, when we are fully staffed, 74 staff people who do the work that I just explained. Of those 74 staff, the majority of them, about 50 of them, are caseworkers in between the intake units, the ongoing units, our foster care, placement, and adoption. Are doing the work, the frontline work, along with our visitation specialists who are hosting the visitation and facilitating the visitation in between our families. So next, I thought I would give you a brief overview, some high-level numbers of data. So I've shared the services, but what volume of people, children specifically and their families, are we serving? This is a 4-year comparison graph overlaid with each other. You'll see the circle, and you may not be able to see the numbers, so let me shout it out. It's 76. In the month of September, we opened 76 new cases of child abuse and neglect in Wayne County. On average, it's about 80 a month. You can see across the months, we've had as high as 100 cases in May of 2019. And then you will see our low of 52 in the first month of the pandemic. That the first month of the onset of the pandemic in March of 2020, nationally in child welfare, referrals went down, decreased by 50%. I was pleased here in Wayne County, overall, we did not drop down that low. We have a couple of months that we did dip. Overall, we dropped about 27% throughout that time frame. And then we were able to bump back up. And again, that goes back to and speaks to the strong commitment of our community, keeping support and a watchful eye on our family members. And so again, thank you to our community for being very proactive and wanting to keep an eye out on the well-being of families during that critical time. Also, when schools went virtual and remote, unfortunately, teachers didn't have all of the skills, that first face-to-face interaction that they need with kiddos. So we saw those overall numbers and referrals to intake also drop just because of that critical partnership was changed during that time. So we were very thankful to see schools go back into session because our critical most population of professionals that report concerns to us, they were getting that face-to-face interaction with children. So next, I talked about earlier, we have our front door, the intake. If a case is not resolved and we need to provide ongoing supports to a family, it transitions into our ongoing services. Our ongoing services, we by law can only provide services to families up to 2 years. So we have to determine what supports are needed for a family, help support them to be successful, to reach reunification and close out that case by 2 years. If we're unable to do that and the family is unable to be successful in reunification, that's when the agency has to determine, do we need to file for permanent custody of a child? Is that in their best interest? Or alternatively, is there a family member that might be best suited to be the long-term caregiver for that child? So back to the stats, you'll see we have dipped down. Our total numbers for this year have decreased. Typically, we serve about 200 children on an ongoing basis monthly. Our numbers have been on a downward trend this year because, like many of you, we are in a staffing crisis. We have had to reduce the number of services that we are providing to families because we are down caseworkers. Now we are meeting our mandated services. There's no service that's not being met that's required. But our community And how we have always, our philosophy at Children's Services is we do more than the minimum. And so we have offered voluntary services to families. We have offered when a family calls in and says, I need help with A, B, and C, we have said, yes, let's help you. Unfortunately, because we are short on staff, we have we have 7 caseworker openings right now. We have had to pause on our voluntary services for families. So we cannot wait to get right back into that, because our voluntary services and our services for families that are asking for help, that's where you can make the greatest impact. That's where they are, we would be helping them before something really critical happens. So we cannot wait until we can find enough caseworkers to jump back into that work. So that's why there is a downward trend with our data. So you'll see at the end of September, we were serving 167 children and their families. Next, I wanted to just touch on real quickly the major highlights of our organization right now. And the top challenges impacting families has remained consistent through the last number of years, even throughout the pandemic. The top 2 reasons children become involved with our families, or become involved with our organization rather, are addiction and domestic violence. Those things still remain. Those were our top 2 challenges prior to the pandemic. Since the pandemic, they have just grown deeper. Then our next top reason why families become involved with us is mental health challenges. What we have seen through the pandemic, like many other social service organizations, is that oftentimes those 3 top challenges are all wrapped together. There's addiction, there's domestic violence, and there's mental health challenges. I have not seen deeper challenges that our families have faced ever in my, you heard, 20+ years. Along with that, though, I have never seen more resilience by family. And so that transitions me next to our next biggest highlight that I wanted to share, and that's kinship families for children. In child welfare, when a child could no longer stay safe at home, we would look to a foster home. In the last about 8 years, we have really gotten better at finding family, extended family, biological family, not related family, but someone that knows the child. And here locally in Wayne County, in the last 3 years, we have gotten a lot better at finding family. And you might think, well, that should be easy. It's not, for 2 main reasons. When we're involved with a family, parents don't always want to tell us the information we need to find that extended family. It just is natural. That's our reality. The second, the majority of us are caseworkers, social workers. Technology is not our first skill set. How technology has evolved in the last 10 years with family finding is amazing. So we locally at Wayne County have increased our skill set with technology and are finding kin and related family members to children better than we ever have. We've started a partnership with a new program. It's called 30 Days to Family, or Connect to Family, where the requirement is no less than 80 connections, 80 adults to every 1 child. And in that search, we can find people who will be willing to be mentors, tutors, respite care providers, or maybe potentially a placement option for that child when their home environment is no longer safe. So we are thrilled about that work. The next I wanted to touch on and share with you how many adoptions we've had so far this year. We've finalized 10 adoptions. this year, which that is not our first preferred mode of work. We want people to have, we want our kiddos to have finalizations of adoptions, but our mission is to reunify a family. So our first purpose will always be to focus in on reunifying that family if we can, the family of origin. But if we can't, then we need to be good at adoption work. And so I'm excited to share with you, we did finalize forever homes for 10 children. And one of the guests today, Dr. Carney, he has been involved long-term with one of our most difficult, hard to place youth because of the medical condition that she had. And she found a forever home this year. And shout out to Dr. Carney for that. It was amazing. So next, I'm going to go in and share, why do I share some of these highlights? What I put up is our most recent data on bed days. We track every night when we have a child in custody or that is no longer staying at home and is safety planned to a different home, we keep track of where that kiddo is laying their head every night. Reason why I wanted to share this data is that it speaks to how we're getting better at finding family and kinship connections for children. You'll see at the very top, the largest number of bed days is kinship bed days. And then foster care, that would be traditional foster care. That would be a child going into a foster home that they had not met those parents before. The next level is therapeutic foster homes. And that's where foster parents have a higher level of training to deal with and support children that have higher needs that cannot reside in a traditional foster home environment. And then our highest level of need of placement is a residential placement. So locally, just to give you your mind a little bit of understanding of what that means, would be the Village Network, Christian Children's Home. They offer residential placement services for children. We have children in Wayne County that are currently in residential placements. So again, kinship bed days are critical, not just well, the primary reason why they're so critical is because when a kiddo can lay their head down in a home and on a pillow that they know where they're living, where they're staying, they know where they're sleeping, that reduces the trauma impact on them, which then promotes a better outcome and less trauma, as I said, on the child. So we are going to remain committed to enhancing our kinship services because we are seeing incredible results for our kiddos that we are able to find those placements for. Then as I wrap up, I thought it would be important to be accountable to my community to share with you where our agency revenue comes from. So you'll see the largest pie, that 42%, comes from 2 local children's services levies. We are fortunate in Wayne County, we do have 2 children's services levies that help support the work that we do. In all 88 counties in Ohio, just under 50 counties have children's services levies. When we look at a state level at those counties that have those that additional funding support, there's a more robust service spectrum for families in those communities. Then you'll see next federal funding that is due to we are able to draw down reimbursement on all the services that we provide. And then you'll see state funding. We get about 14% of our budget or of our revenue comes from our state child abuse allocation. And then 10%, that's really donations, grants. We have a couple of grants that we receive for the work that we do. A wide variety of different sources make up that 10%. Now let me tell you where our money goes then. Our biggest service are the services that I shared. And so it's that human resource, boots on the ground, that is our biggest cost. 49% of our budget is what takes up our salaries and benefits for our staff to do the work that we do. The next biggest chunk, that 23%, is providing the covering the expense for children in residential care. That's that highest level of care. Currently, we have 29 children in residential care. And those per diems per day range from on the low side to about $150 a day to right now, I think we have a kiddo at $700 a day. On the high end, we've, because of complex needs of children, we've had to pay $1,200 a day because our children were needing that kind of one-to-one staff support. So you'll see, again, 49% for staff, the rest 51%, all of those services in those other sections of the pie are the cost of care of taking care of children. So it's foster care, therapeutic foster care, residential care. The other category would be things like clothing, emergency clothing for kids, being able to support kids that are in our custody to engage in sporting activities or 4-H or any of those costs that come with a normal child experience. It's our responsibility to also provide those supports for kids that we're supporting. So with that, I'm going to pause for just a minute and see if there's any questions before I wrap up.
May I ask, are children either foster or adopted into the Amish community?
Yes, on both. So out of the 30 foster homes that we have right now, off the top of my head, I think it's 2 or 3 of those are Amish family foster homes. We have also adopted children into the Amish community, into those homes where they would have originally been placed through foster care. And if they could not have reunified with their original biological family or caregiver, and they wanted to adopt them, we have in the past, and we will continue to look and partner with the Amish community.
Thanks for coming, Deanna. I understand there's a levy on the ballot of the Greater Connection Services. Could you speak to that and why it's so important?
So you saw on my my revenue slide, without the local community support, our services would look a lot different. If we had to operate just on state and federal funding and local grants that we're able to write for, our services would not be as complex or expansive as what they are. I did share, we have 2 children's services levies. We do have one on the ballot on November 8th. It's our large levy. If anybody would like additional information about that, I'm happy to talk with you afterwards. I have more detailed information. Thank you for asking. Dawn is also president of our board of directors. Full disclosure. Love it.
You mentioned that finding in the children, their biological or biological families to take custody of the children, and you mentioned technology not necessarily being case responsive. Wondering if there's ever been discussion of using some software tools like Ancestry.com to help find those family members, or if there's multiple reasons that wouldn't be possible.
That is a great question. We do use platforms like Ancestry.com. Ironically, and I'm drawing a blank on the name, but there is a website that lists all the grave sites and names all across the country. That is our #1 search engine that we go to and look up family members to find, just learn past history, but then you can find the obituaries that then lists family members that were tied to that person. So that's one of our top tools that we've really gotten a lot better in utilizing the last couple of years, as well as we have a background system that's called Accurate that helps us give vital information to fill in the gaps as well. Off the top of my head, if I had to give you a guesstimate, the kinship program that I mentioned, 30 Days to Family, Connect to Family, they have shown us over 15 different search engines to utilize and go in to kind of put together this big puzzle. You can find this piece or this piece or this piece, and then it all comes together. Yeah.
And just a quick question. Years ago, adoption records were kept confidential. That's kind of gone by the wayside. And I'm wondering how you manage that between the adoptive parents and the parents.
It's a difficult navigation. You are correct. Records to adoptions have opened up the breadth. For us, it all depends on who's asking for that record and what the lineage to that adoption or what the connection to that adoption is will determine whether we can release that information or not. I want to share, I had a records request last week from the 1920s. They were looking for information for a family member that was adopted in the 1920s. And so we just had to do a family tree to kind of see, okay, who's the last living relative and who has access to those records per our guidelines and restrictions, and what can we offer them to help them get a complete picture of their family. So every situation's a little bit different. Again, it goes back to who's requesting that record and what is their connection to that adoption. We really try to work with and be very open with, we may have a records request from one family member, but we'll say, hey, if you talk as a family and we get a records request from this person, we'll be able to give you information. Thank you so much. I appreciate coming today. Thank you.
I think we all understand how important what they do for Wayne County and for our children. Yeah, in appreciation for your time with us today, we'd like to present you with a rendition of the Rotary Wheel with the 4-way test on the back. This is made locally by students at the Village Network. Thank you. If anybody has further questions, I'm sure we'll be running up here in the after the meeting. We welcome all our guests and we hope you can join us again. Next Monday's program will be Jesse Roper and Amy Heller from the Buckeye Council Boy Scouts of America. I will be on vacation for 2 weeks, so Terry will be filling in for me. I'm sure you'll all be happy at that. I hope you guys had a great week, and we'll see you next Monday. We stand adjourned.